A 56-year-old food delivery writer in China just won the country's highest literary prize. The Wall Street Journal is asking whether therapists are to blame for the rise of adults cutting off their parents, and Yosemite dropped its reservation system, is experiencing 90-minute entrance waits, and has become the most vivid illustration yet of what happens to affordable leisure when everything else is too expensive. Every day the news cycle produces roughly 1,000 stories. About 6 of them are about politics, and that's all anyone talks about. I went looking for the rest. This is News Side Quest. Wang Zhibing is 56 years old. He was born in eastern China and left school at 14 because his family couldn't afford to keep him enrolled. He spent the next few decades doing whatever work was available, sometimes construction, scavenging for scraps, running a street stall. He never stopped reading, though, and he also never stopped writing. In 2019, around age 49, he signed up as a food delivery writer for one of China's gig economy platforms, just like they have here in the US. He logged over 150,000 kilometers on the road in the years that followed, racing between restaurants and apartment towers, navigating traffic and time pressure on a scooter, and in between orders, writing poems on whatever paper he happened to have at hand. His poem, A Man in a Hurry, written after a frustrating 2019 delivery where a customer entered the wrong address and he spent hours trying to complete it, went viral in 2022. Last week, his poetry collection, Low Flight, built on his own life and on interviews he conducted with more than 200 fellow couriers, won the Luzheng Literary Prize, named after the writer, considered the father of Chinese literature. The prize is one of the country's 4 highest literary honors and has traditionally gone to established professional writers, not grassroots voices. The quote that keeps rattling around in my noggin from Wang is this one, which I think says everything you need to know about him personally. He said, quote, "Now, every type of publicity is tied to my identity. People automatically see your writing as coming from the bottom of society. They tend to read it with sympathy or even pity. I'm grateful for the praise, but I take it cautiously because much of it isn't purely about the literature. I know I still have a long way to go as a writer." He has no plans to stop delivering food. He said, quote, "Financially, I don't need this job to make a living, but I love the vibe of the work and it keeps me fit. I want a down-to-earth life and the award will never change who I am." So basically, this is the plot of Good Will Hunting, except with poetry and food delivery instead of math and janitorial work. Of course, this is a real person who built this over 35 years of quiet, persistent work and not a movie. His collection is being published in English in December. I'll give it a read. What's the talent or passion that you have that your day job has absolutely nothing to do with, and does anyone in your life actually know about it?
Do you like apples?
Yeah.
Well, I got a number. How do you like them apples?
The Wall Street Journal published a piece yesterday by Elizabeth Bernstein that is going to make some people feel seen and other people feel a little accused. Let's try to be fair to both sides, because there are real researchers with real disagreements here. The story Bernstein leads with is a woman named Shoshana Rubly. She's 42, and she says her therapist, in their second session, advised her to cut off all contact with her mother. She did. She later came to regret it. Her case is used to open a broader argument from some relationship researchers that therapists are increasingly encouraging estrangement as a form of self-care, pathologizing parents based solely on one side of the story and undermining family relationships in a way that can cause long-term harm. Clinical psychologist Joshua Coleman, who has studied estrangement for decades and written a book about rules of estrangement, argues that rising individualism, a cultural emphasis on personal happiness, and an economic environment that has made extended family support both more necessary and more fraught have combined with therapy culture to lower the bar for what counts as a family relationship worth ending. He's not unsympathetic to people who cut off genuinely abusive parents. He's worried about cases where the decision is made quickly based on one therapist's framing without the kind of long reconciliation effort that research shows most people who do reconcile had to make. Psychology researchers and therapists who work with estranged adult children are emphatic that the therapist as villain narrative is almost entirely wrong. Research consistently shows that estrangement is almost never impulsive. Most children who cut off parents have spent years trying to repair the relationship first. Most describe it as a last resort. Most experience it as grief, not liberation. And the Psychology Today piece that directly rebuts the Wall Street Journal framing makes the point that I think is probably the most important. Blaming the therapist is a form of deflection that places the adult child back in the middle of a conflict they didn't create. In situations where kids are doing the cutting off, the parents are probably the ones to blame. But I also want to be careful when I say that because the data suggests it's usually, but not always true. There are cases where adult children cut off parents for reasons that, with more support, could have been worked through without much difficulty. There are also cases where the relationship was genuinely harmful and the cutoff was the right call, and it took years to arrive at that conclusion. Those are different situations that the same headline kind of flattens. Has therapy or any kind of structured self-reflection ever genuinely changed how you saw a relationship in your life? And did it make you want to fix the relationship or get out of it?
You know, you should lock your door. There's horrible people out there.
There's horrible people right in here.
Yosemite National Park is overwhelmed. Entry waits hit 90 minutes over the first weekend of May. Parking fills before noon. Shuttle buses pack to capacity. Visitors describe it as being like Disneyland. Park hit nearly 250,000 recreational visits in March alone, the busiest March since 2016. From 2020 through 2024, Yosemite piloted a timed entry reservation system during peak seasons that was broadly effective. Visitors raved about uncongested trails and available parking. Visitation remained high at over 4 million annual visits, and environmental damage was more manageable. In February 2026, the current administration's Interior Department dropped that reservation system entirely, saying its review found it wasn't the most effective approach. The National Parks Conservation Association described the decision as choosing chaos over conservation. The chaos arrived on schedule. But here's what I think is actually the more important story under the crowding story. National parks are free or nearly free. The standard Yosemite entrance fee is $35 per vehicle for a 7-day pass, which for a family of 4 is about $8-9 per person for a week of one of the most spectacular landscapes in North America. Not that I'm trying to sell Yosemite. Compare that to a theme park or a sporting event, a hotel stay, or virtually anything else you could do for leisure activity, nothing comes close. Yosemite's crowds are a pretty good indication of where the economy is right now. When the financial pressure on families reaches a certain point, the things that cost nothing and provide an enormous amount start absorbing everyone who used to distribute themselves across more expensive options. That's not a reason to resent the crowds at Yosemite, it's a reason to understand why they're there in the first place. The very crowds straining the parks are also one of the strongest arguments for keeping them protected. Political support for national parks funding and conservation tracks closely with visitations. People protect what they use. So what's your version of the national park, the thing in your life that costs almost nothing and gives you a lot? And how has it held up over the last few years?
Sorry, folks, park's closed. The moose out front should have told you.
A humanoid robot was decapitated during what organizers are calling the world's first humanoid combat tournament held in China. 2 robots fought in a cage match format. One lost its head in the course of the fight. Having robots fight each other for our entertainment right at the dawn of AI doesn't seem like a great precedent to set.
Danger, Will Robinson! Danger! No, Will Robinson! Danger!
An Australian woman gave birth to identical quadruplets, described by her medical team as a 1 in several million occurrence. All 4 babies are doing well. This is one parent who's going to need name tags for all her kids. I also want to add that the logistics of the next few years of this family's life are pretty difficult to fully contemplate.
Mom! 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 Mommy! 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 Mama! 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 Ma! 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 Mom! 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 Mommy! Mommy! Mama! Mama! Mama!
What?
Hi.
The Los Angeles Angels fired a scout known as the Baseball Spy after reports that he allegedly spied on the Colorado Rockies, including their practice sessions and internal strategy. The Angels were shocked to discover that spying was going on.
I am shocked. Well, not that shocked.
Whole Foods is offering steep discounts on Taylor Farms shredded iceberg lettuce, following the FDA's investigation into the Cyclospora outbreak linked to the brand, which the FDA has now said was a false positive. Who wants to roll the dice? The discount is pretty significant.
No.
That's it for News Side Quest. 3 questions out there in the ether today. The talent or passion your day job has nothing to do with, and whether anyone knows about it. Whether therapy or self-reflection has ever pulled you towards a relationship or away from one. And your version of the national park, the thing that costs almost nothing and gives you a lot in return. Email me at newssidequest@gmail.com or slide into the Substack comments. See you tomorrow.